Oh, it's already February. So what if I'm a tad bit late? I'm allowed to still talk about 2023's top shows, right? Right? It's never... Anyways, 2023 was an amazing year for anime. We had shows that were continuing with their next ongoing season, ton of new TV original anime, a ton of new series getting adapted for the first time. It was honestly super stressful to carry all these shows into my watch list, so it was also really hard to fit everything in, and it was even harder to think about what series to talk about for this. So for the first time ever on this channel, this is 2023's anime year roundup, where I'm just going to talk about my favorite stuff that I watched last year. And you'll soon see that I couldn't possibly just do a simple top 10, so here are some honorable mentions.
He hit my car on the highway and trying to leave! He hit my car on the highway and trying to leave!
This is the best you can get for making an authentic translation of what it's like to play video games or have any knowledge whatsoever in the MMO space. Shangri-La Frontier is top class in the ultra-realistic and immersive VR MMO gaming genre of anime, in a sense. A key factor as to why I like Shangri-La so much is that they also spend time outside of the game and within other games as well. Sanraku, our main character, plays a ton of trash games, which leads him to have the skill he does when he finally plays a good game, aka Shangri-La. The general narrative and plot of the story is just for him to beat the game, and that enough alone is just enticing to watch. There's so much meticulous detail and craft into trying to make this feel like it has actual systems that a game would have, on top of just having really fun action and the story of the game just also being something enticing to watch as a viewer. Yeah, check this one out if you want some good action and just looking for an MMO game style anime that honestly hasn't really had a good thing hit the market in a while. Studio Orange is known for proving that CGI anime haters are just wrong time and time again. Trigun Stampede is easily their best work from an artistic standpoint, and it has enough of a diverging story to lead old fans and new fans alike to enjoy it. It does have some wonky plot points that the original also has, but the new art direction and leaning it more to a sci-fi route is very cool, as the old Western style is still near and dear to my heart, but old fans and new fans alike should definitely check this one out. This is the newest adaptation of Naoki Urasawa's works. Pluto still offers more of that thought-provoking commentary, reimagining the story of Astro Boy through the lens of high-detail robots integrated themselves in human society. The story of Pluto is a wild ride, and while this might be the weakest of his works, that doesn't really say much because everything he writes is just pure cinema. This story is a wild ride, and maybe if you're not too familiar with his work, you could get kind of lost in translation with a lot of the terms being thrown at you. But overall, this 8-episode short series is definitely something you should watch if you are a big fan of Urasawa's work. At first, this was a way to scratch that One Punch Man and Mob Psycho itch, but the show later goes hard into the Harry Potter setting, as well as going further into its character-based comedy. It's straightforward and fun. Especially now with the second season currently on air in the year of 2024. Mashle is one of those expectations to kind of go far as one of those comedy series that a lot of people will just be following for the time to come. And last for the honorable mentions, I want to highlight Zom 100, which almost made it onto the list except for the fact that the release schedule and pacing kind of soured the taste in my mouth, but this show is just so much fun, man. It seriously has one of the best first episode premieres of any series, almost like To Your Eternity's first episode. It's also rare to see something in the zombie genre have such a refreshing take on how they go about the story. There's so much to love with Akira Tendo as the main protagonist, and just seeing him trying to complete his bucket list and accrue a tight-knit group of friends and just have fun with it. You seriously can't go wrong with this series. It has action, comedy, some tight-knit, endearing stories, and just some really good art direction as well for seemingly no reason. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Studio Bug Films will do after this. Yeah, Zom 100 was pretty good.
Why they saying you ate a treat if you ain't eat a treat from... Did you eat... I'm gonna ask you again. Did you eat...
Oh man, that was just the honorable mentions. I told you I kind of cheated with this list, so I don't even have a top 10, I have a top 12, because I literally couldn't narrow anything down. And there's still so many shows I had to leave out of this video, so if you don't see it here, I probably watched it. I don't know. Mention it in the comments. But yeah, on for the real list. Now, there isn't really that much to say about Spy Family that isn't already known. At this point, everyone knows what the show's deal is. And season 2 just keeps on expanding with that fun comedy that everyone just knows and loves from the series now. In the second season, the cruise ship arc is the depth that we needed for Yor's character and just made her all the more enjoyable to see. This series really does not skimp out on the action, on top of just making the funniest dynamics humanly possible. There will never not be a time where I'm in the mood for Spy Family. It's just the perfect show to just throw on. The author really has concocted the perfect formula to just make seemingly endless amounts of content with the characters at play here. I mean, the family dynamic alone. It was nice to see a bigger plot point kind of get added in the second season where an arc spanned multiple episodes and just episodic based comedy. But yeah, Spy Family is Spy Family. It'll forever just scratch that itch. So with that, that is the kickoff of my list. Blue Lock is that perfect hype sports anime that without fail will just get you on the edge of your seat. This ain't your grandmother's game of football. These high school boys will do anything to win their match, and I mean anything. This is such an interesting take on the sports scene in anime and manga where the author wants to directly have a contribution trying to make their nation's soccer team less booty cheeks. The author literally has a self-insert into the story to kind of make an excuse for how the sports manga is even led. The whole theming of Blue Lock is turning a team-based sport of soccer into this egocentric riff of using your teammates to benefit yourself as much as possible. It's the egoist game, one might say. You know, most sports anime is like, come on guys, we gotta work together as a team and all that stuff. You know, you got your haikus. No shame on haiku, I like haiku, but it's just so different to have a show like this where just the main character, Isagi, just you grow to love him so much as the first season progresses. Watching Blue Lock each week was like a spectacle, especially with all the memes going around with the World Cup and just, it was just such a time to be watching the show.
俺には見える。お前が出せ、泉。行くぞ。見せろ、ちぎり。お前の武器を。届く。
I find making a sports anime to be like really hard and impressive because it is super hard to make a sports anime like interesting to watch. You have to have all these different cuts and, you know, mix together like choreography that's unique each time, as well as create circumstances that aren't just playing a match. I want to see a lot more sports anime manga kind of follow the way Blue Lock is because it is just so unique right now and somebody needs to tap into what Blue Lock is showing off. I'm not one that watches sports anime that often, but can't lie, the show is heat. Bro, Bungo Stray Dogs dropped 2 seasons in 1 year. I won't lie, this show was just in the background of my mind for me, but after 2023, this show has completely taken the forefront. The hype kind of clicked for me, and it's weird that it took till like the 4th and 5th season for that to happen, but after the spin-off kind of prequel with Ranpo, and then just the 5th season just going absolutely insane, I'm hooked. There's this perfect blend of worldwide devastating stakes, but it doesn't get lost in its plot. The villains of Bungo Stray Dogs always carry the series for me, and this season proves that even more. It's hard to truly pinpoint why the show tickles my fancy, but its story is just so well crafted, even if it leads more to the basic side. This show genuinely rewards its viewers for actually paying attention and kind of giving a shit. There's enough breadcrumbs throughout any given season to kind of just figure out where things are going to go or what exactly is kind of going on, and I like the mystery aspect a lot. I was also really infatuated with getting more insight to kind of what happened with the Gifted Wars and just kind of the exploits that went on and how downright poor everything was. Also, the TV anime has one of the cleanest art styles that you can find. It's really weird that the fandom doesn't like the way the TV anime looks, because personally I don't really see much difference of that in the source material, but I guess I'll get crucified for that statement. But yeah, pleasantly surprised, and I'm glad to be sticking with it.
恋したいこれは真実ただ愛されたいのは不誠実もうどうすればいいどうすればいいのか
This show is so slept on. I mean, I literally talked about Spy Family not too long ago, so it makes sense why. This show is nothing like Spy Family, and it's crazy to me that people skipped out on it just because they thought it was. Buddy Daddies is about two assassins who end up taking on a job and murdering a target, and the target they end up murdering is the father of a super young daughter who ended up getting mixed up in it. But she doesn't really know or understand. You see, she's pretty dumb and a child, and this show makes Miri, the little girl, actually feel like a real kid. I love Anya, but she does not feel like a real kid, you know? Like, she's definitely like souped up to play into the comedic elements. But yeah, anyways, she ends up getting wrapped up in kind of following them through their mission, and they kill the target, which was her dad. So they end up taking her in as kind of their kid to kind of co-parent together on top of living their like assassin life. Unlike the previously mentioned Spy Family, our main duo, Kazuki and Rei, they don't even hide what they do. They just kind of carry on with life and do their job, you know? And it's really funny how they just kind of keep going with it and how oblivious the little girl is. But she's a little girl. Like, she doesn't understand what's happening. She just wants to have and be a part of a family. And obviously the issue stems with them in their line of work and trying to look after a kid and kind of just juggling between that. And you'll see that they'll also introduce a plot point with one of the characters' fathers and kind of how him as a figure is where the conflict is driving from. It's funny, it's cute, and it's got some damn good action. Check this out. For being a TV anime original series, it's short and sweet and to the point, and it doesn't leave you hanging, and it doesn't want to like continue on more. It's just one season and does everything it's trying to do, and it tells its few stories that it wants to get across. I mean, we're seriously lacking in like short-term shows like we used to in like the 2010s, where they're just like one-off seasons with complete stories. Like, I needed more stuff like this instead of long ongoing franchises. Buddy Daddy duo is just, they're so colorful and great. Rei especially, I love him. He's just really funny, and seeing him kind of come out of his shell to look after Miri, it's just really wholesome. But yeah, this one will get you into your feelings and, you know, tug at those heartstrings. If you missed out on this one because you thought it was a clone of Spy Family, shame on you. Watch it, super enjoyable. And yeah, on to the next one. Alright, hear me out on this one. How can a show with scenes like this and whatever the hell this is well, for one, I'm sorry I made you watch that. But trust me, hear me out. How can a show like Golden Kamuy be this absurd and still have me so emotionally invested to where every episode I'm at the edge of my seat, dying, waiting, gasping for air for more to come out? I was so happy when Golden Kamuy got announced to come back, and the 4th season is a banger. I adore this show a lot. This is a show that I just never want to end. The array of lovable characters, the history of the Japanese and Russian War, and the Ainu people. This show is like Dorohedoro or JoJo, where the humor feels so perfectly tailored to my liking of just random absurdities and just straight visual nonsense. The best comedies are the ones that have the best character dynamics and like character writing, which Golden Kamuy just excels at. There is not a single bad character. Even the characters you hate, you love. Being along for the ride since the first ever season is definitely a reason why I'm super attached to it, but season 4 finally brought us some more moments with Sugimoto and Ashiripa finally reunited, as well as introduced some new people as always. The plot is constantly progressing and the story goes wherever the hell it wants. Big factor of the show is the mystery aspect and truly discovering everything there is about the Ainu treasure. Even though the show is technically about war, it's still like super cozy most of the time. I say most of the time because there are some really insane climactic moments. It's cartoony, but there's also this realism where people will just get shot and die, and That just doesn't happen in anime. Like, guns just don't have an effect on people in anime, so it's really cool to see a realistic show like this come through. Well, except for Sugimoto, because he's immortal and could just kind of withstand anything. It's always a crazy statement to say that an action adventure series' best moments are the downtime, where the characters just talk to each other. Like, that's weird, right? While I do want to see the ending of the series, I'm more than fine with just letting it ride out and just keep going, because I can watch an endless amount of content of just the characters just doing whatever for the end of time. But yeah, season 4 has probably the least amount of plot and story progression of the past 3 seasons, but that's all right. Like I said, I love the small moments. I'm here for it.
What? 問題があったのは俺の方だった。ただ沈黙していたのだ。
Yes. Am I allowed to praise this show, or like, I don't want to rehash this debate because it's been used so many times, but like I said in my Monogatari video, it's okay to like problematic media as long as you recognize it and obviously don't condone it or encourage it. And while I do think Monogatari sometimes encourages Araragi's behavior, it's just not the case in Mushoku Tensei. A lot of its touchy subject matter in Mushoku Tensei is handled very tastefully. Never do you feel like the show is trying to justify what Rudy does or encourage him or constantly just kind of cheer him on for all the weird behavior that he incites. But yeah, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about the second season because it's really good. Big surprise. I mean, the second season is just more amazing world building that you've come to love from the series. The writing in Mushoku Tensei is bar none one of the best fantasy stories in anime, up there with Re:Zero. I mean, they were able to make a plot about erectile dysfunction and make it engaging. Like, come on. I mean, obviously the school depression arc has more going on than that, but it was nice to see Rudy kind of be on his own for once, especially in the beginning half of this season, as he was never alone in the first season, with people always by his side to keep him company. We got to see some returning characters like Sylphie, which I'm so glad she's back. You get to see Zanoba and her.
We meet again?
As well as some amazing new characters, as well as how Cliff ends up making his way through the story through seeing the spin-off. There's a lot of good moments, like even the very beginning before he finally goes to the school. Seeing Rudy work with another party or have his interactions with Soldat, who tries to get him out of his depression, you know? It's mainly got those nice slow moments, but there's a lot of revelations with, you know, another person also being isekai to the world. And it's also a lot of build-up of him and Sylphie's relationship before the big Labyrinth arc, which we all know is going to be insanely action-packed. It's crazy how Mushoku Tensei is the grandfather of isekai, yet there's still some aspects of it that don't even feel like it's been reused in other series or capitalized on. It still feels super refreshing and innovative, and I'm not sure if the anime has changed anything apart from the source material to make it feel that way, but I highly doubt it. Also, I know why they did this and it makes sense, but I did miss the ever-changing openings that would kind of mix with the visuals of what would go on each episode. I know they didn't do it this season because he's mainly in one place the whole time, and that different change of location isn't as frequent as it was in the first season. But god, that is like one of my favorite things from the first season. But hell yeah, Sylphie's back. Love to see it. Now, I'm not going to try to change anyone's mind on the series. If you don't like it, you're not going to like it. The second season won't change anything for you. But if you like the first season, hop on to that second one, because it goes hard. Unlike Rudy. Where do I even start with Skip and Loafer? I mean, that clip I was just showing you isn't even like the end of it. It is a full-on 2-minute clip of just utter silence of her working her way to go to the airport and just take a flight back home. This show is all about the intricate little downtime and just coziness that just follows with just living out life. I've never seen a slice of life show just encapsulate what it's like to just live in the moment during like your younger adolescent years. Time feels like it's moving slower as opposed to now where everything just feels like it's going at 2 times speed or something. This show is one of the biggest surprises of 2023 for me. I went into it with no expectations, thinking it's just going to be a cute shoujo type romance. And it was that, but it was so much more. The romance honestly took kind of a back seat, and it was just more like a normal slice of life. It's hard to explain vibes, but the vibes are there. The show is like so relaxed. Whether it's the stillness of her hometown in the countryside or the slight chatter in the hallways at school, there's just so much great sound design to just fill in and just take over where music would have filled the gap. This is probably the most realistic depiction of high school kids in an anime. There's no weird over-the-top melodrama, it's just a bunch of people helping each other out and just realizing that like everyone's human too, struggling through life, and everyone's just so nice to each other and everyone just hangs out and it's just good times all around. Everyone has interests and hobbies and they're independent outside of each other. They don't feel like they need to exist for each other. People will look at this as kind of like a Kimi ni Todoke kind of situation. It's like, oh, the popular, charismatic, outgoing guy is talking to the shy countryside girl and, oh, he's super into her and that kind of thing. But like, no one cares. Everyone just kind of joins in with him and everyone just treats Mitsumi just like another person at the school and just is open arms and accepting her. And when there is drama or conflict, it gets resolved. People talk things out like normal people. They don't just run away and hide and just overthink things. There's just a true beauty to the show of how it just depicts everyday life just really naturally. I love how we always see how Mitsumi is constantly talking with her hometown friends and contacting them over the phone or just having even realistic depictions of how the internet is used to communicate with each other. There's a lot of nuance to making a show like this that a lot of people just don't seem to get. While it is based off of the real world, there's still a lot of world building that is involved to make things feel fully fleshed out and realized and suck you in for every 20-minute episode. Otherwise, how could you justify a whole episode about the main girl going to a Starbucks for the first time and making it interesting as a viewer to watch? I love how earnest all the characters are as well. They all have their own goals of what they're trying to achieve. Whether it's doing well in your studies and working for the government, or getting enough notoriety as a theater person. Or maybe you just want to break away from the past and just go in a different life route. While the first season doesn't do much to progress the main relationship, I don't really even think that's what the story is about. It's clearly so much more and trying to have a telling impact on how taking the time to understand others can open your worldview and just deepen who you are as a person. And I think Skip and Loafer is not only just cute but beautiful for that. This is easily one of my favorite romance and slice of life type cozy shows out there. For the awkwardness, the cuteness, the vibes, atmosphere, for everything, I will keep watching this as long as they keep making it. After 10 whole years, we finally have gotten the anime ending to Attack on Titan. Since 2013, this show has engrossed me like no other. It has been an actual journey through my life watching this thing as it's been developing for half of my lifespan. The amount of influence Attack on Titan has had on our culture, it's crazy. And to finally have the ending of the series animated and to bear witness to the end of an era, it's truly a sight to see. There will truly never be something as impactful as Attack on Titan in the anime scene, and there will never be something more divisive than this ending. I couldn't have pictured any more of a perfect ending to the series. Isayama, the madman himself, has crafted a story so larger than life, so beautiful and just downright majestic. Isayama had this Titan-shifting war concocted in his mind since the very beginning, and to have that whole story mapped out is just insane. To hold on to that for years while developing the story as meticulously as possible, that is just something only a madman can do. It is exhaustive, and it's a feat that he should be proud of. As sad as I am to see it go, I couldn't be more glad of how it turned out and how its run came at a graceful stop. I like to toast to the next generation of shows that might someday reach the highs of Attack on Titan. It's very hard for an animated work or just a piece of media in general to impact you in a way where you just think about it for as long as you live. And I think Attack on Titan is truly one of those series. There's nothing much I could really say at this point to commend Attack on Titan any more than everyone already knows at this point. So I just want to say thank you, Isayama, for creating a story so beloved, and thank you to Wit Studio and Mappa for carrying it on in one of the most amazing animated series to ever come out in this generation.
いってらっしゃい、エレン。
かかってこい。夢の人間を皆殺しにしてやろう。いや同時には使えない。交渉先をつけないのだ。プレイじゃない。無料空想。
At long last, the king of shonen has arrived. The Shibuya arc of Jujutsu Kaisen is perfection. A full-length season of non-stop action, all with different unique choreography and styles and just anything and everything you could ever ask for a shonen battle series. It does not get better than this in terms of just pure entertainment. The dark, brutal horrors of the content in this arc mixed with just the beautiful fights, it's like it makes you feel conflicted the whole time. You get hyped for what's happening, but at the same time, you don't like what you're seeing. This is a pure marvel, equivalent to when Chainsaw Man first came out. The amount of talent on hand to perfectly adapt all the content of this series, as well as pay homage and reference a ton of other shows and let the animators just let loose and have their flavor on each cut that they work on. No fight in the Shibuya arc ever feels remotely close to the last. And there's a new fight practically every episode. The emotional baggage as well is just heartbreaking death after heartbreaking death. It's full throttle, not only with the action, but just the pain as well. We got to see Sukuna wreak havoc. We got to see Toji come back and just completely clean house. We finally got Chozo to be a fully fleshed out character now. There was so much to look forward to with this arc, and nothing could have prepared me for what was in store. I mean, there's seriously no current series that even gets close to the level of hype that Jujutsu Kaisen is producing right now. There's just so much content online covering this series that it just feels like a big spectacle every week while it was airing. I really like the hidden inventory arc, but the Shibuya arc mixed with the vibe that was set by the specials opening, it's just unmatched. That Halloween aesthetic is so purely there. And I feel like nothing else was able to capitalize on that other than like Soul Eater back in the 2010s. I despise Mahito, but his fights are the most creative thing I've ever seen. The way he shapeshifts and does something completely unique in every encounter. So much anime-only content with the way his fights are incorporated, doing stuff that is just not in the source material. He's goofy and has this cartoonish vibe to everything he does where everything is just completely heightened with the animation itself. I mean, here. This is what it's like to watch Jujutsu Kaisen every week. This is like the live reaction that everyone goes through. Hey, yo, is he throwing a building? What? No way. Whoa! Damn! City is going. What is happening? Yo. Whoa.
One who could not
Doji!
cast
It's
off that
Doji!
curse.
Bro, I can cry right now, man. This is just beautiful. Oh my god, the music! The OST! Oh, I want to be the fish. I want to be that fish so bad. Seems I got a little carried away there.
俺たちは今日会ったばかりだ。あんた方は俺の敵じゃない。俺に敵なんかいない。
Have you ever been completely wrong about something? Yeah, well, that was me with the first season of Vinland Saga. My small little brain thought Thorfinn had no character and that the first season was nothing but just mindless action. Anyways, that was me before I watched the farm arc. I was late to the game with the first season, so I'm so glad the second season came right hot off the press, so I was allowed to give it a second chance without completely abandoning it. I mean, the second season was such a breathtaking drama. You had no idea where things were going to go, and you just wanted to see things pan out for the better because you know that it can work out and that the effort is being put in, so it should work out. It's just all about how we make those loose ends get tied down. It's also crazy now realizing that the first two seasons are practically a prologue. And I think a lot of people also just didn't understand that, like myself, but just found the mindless action of the first season to be more suitable to them, but not for me, I guess. It's only after when you look at the first season conjoined with the second one do you really appreciate it for what it is and the value it offers. Because for now and onward, it's going to be a pacifist journey. Thorfinn's journey to a peaceful path and seeking out Vinland is one of the most enticing things that a story could even present to you. There was such an immense amount of build-up to Thorfinn's character arc, and from what I've seen, I can tell that he just is ever-changing and continues to develop even more so now. The complete 180 and tonal shift is a big baller move. To lose that audience that came here for the action is crazy, but I'm glad to say that it worked out more into the favor of picking up a way larger audience than it probably would have if it stayed an action series set with like a Viking theme. People know Vinland Saga for its reputation of having one of the most thought-provoking and thoughtful stories to tell. Its setting is only just a driver to make a hyperbole of the ultra-violence that Makoto Yukimura wanted to understand more and better rationalize his fear with violence. All the stories of the characters on the farm carry so much weight, and Einar was the perfect addition to this series. To break Thorfinn out of his shell and just have another voice of input, someone to encourage him to follow along this path that his dad wants him to go venture on with. The beauty of Vinland Saga is its complete and utter trust in its viewer to realize that they'll stick along for any build-up that is being worked on. The climax of the farm arc is one of the most rewarding experiences you can have watching a drama series. I cannot stress enough how important Vinland Saga is as a work. It is a story that should be prominent in the minds of the masses, with its beautiful commentary on how we can make a difference in our lives, and how the strongest people can solve conflicts without the need of violence. I mean, in a time where war is on the rise, and this airing during two major back-to-back conflicts in the real world, it just makes the story of Vinland Saga feel even more prevalent to make us act in real life. I talked about a show trying to pick up the mantle of where Attack on Titan has left off, and I said that as if there wasn't something going on right now that could possibly do that. I mean, it's Vinland Saga, come on. I thought it would take time before we see another story as deep and meaningful as Attack on Titan, but Vinland Saga can easily fill that shoe in. I'm going to stick with being an anime only for this series because I want to just enjoy the ride of its production. I could very easily read it, and I probably will reread the stuff I've already watched just to pay homage to Yukimura's work. But yes, I was wrong. I'm so glad I was. Scott Pilgrim takes off. Scott Pilgrim, the anime. Yes, this is an anime. And yes, it's this high up on my list. So much immense joy to be had when watching this. If you love the comics or the movie, you'll be glad to see Ramona Flowers take forefront in this series as well as the 7 Evil X's. If you can't judge by the title, Scott is basically gone for most of this series. It is instead about if Matthew Patel beat Scott in the first fight and for Ramona to basically make amends with all of her exes to kind of bring him back. It's so fun seeing a new spin on characters as well as keeping a lot of the old references and traits from the movie, as well as going with a new style that's like a cleaner rendition of the graphic novel. Studio Science Saru is known for having the most bombastic and crazy shows to work on because their visual style just goes all in on just making the craziest scene layouts or having the most fun visual effects that anime could even have. They're mainly known for their really stylized works like the Devilman Crybaby, which was a reboot of the original Devilman, as well as they're going to be making Dandadan soon, which if you know slightly anything about that, you know that it's visually insane. I'm just so happy the original cast came back to voice everything. Aubrey Plaza as Julie Powers, Chris Evans as Lucas Lee, Kieran Culkin as Wallace.
You need to break up with your fake high school girlfriend.
I mean, when you have actual actors doing the dub, of course it's going to be amazing. This was something that came out of nowhere and no one was expecting it. To have a Scott Pilgrim anything this late into the game, let alone an animated series that everyone's been asking for, it's crazy. It's a match made in heaven, especially for me because I'm more of a TV guy than a movie guy myself. And of course we got that scene with Kim Pine.
No sparks. Worth a shot.
There's also a lot of Sakuga in this because the powers are obviously heightened to be more in an anime setting than that they could do in the live action. So the fights aren't just like cool visually or goofy, but actually just like interesting and kind of taken a little more seriously in a sense. But yeah, this is such a fun franchise and I can't believe this exists, and it's such a good short 8-episode series that you won't regret if you're a huge Scott Pilgrim fan. Also, it was a pleasure hearing all the songs and tracks again.
We're rock stars. We do what we want.
人間の寿命は短いって分かっていたのに、なんでもっと知ろうと思わなかったんだろう。
My anime of the year is without a doubt Frieren Beyond Journey's End. This is without a doubt the show I was emotionally invested to the most out of anything last year. I'm a sucker for fantasy stories, and I'm even more a sucker of just peaceful, slow-paced shows that try to explore many different themes that only something a fantasy world or an animated work can even explore. Frieren's existence is a sad one, having to live hundreds of, if not thousands of years to live past everyone you know. You never truly ever get invested in another person's life because you know that it's only just going to be a blip in your lifespan. The first season of Frieren literally spans decades of time in a 20-minute episode, and yet it's so perfectly paced. This is a series that gets you tearing up over characters you'll just meet because you can tell they were so well written to where you can see that they've lived full-on lives before coming into contact with Frieren. It's so unique to start the story off at the end of the conflict. Like, the Demon Lord he's been handled with, and there's no more, like, everything's at peace. So where do you go from there? Well, the story is about Frieren finally coming to terms to get to know people better after the main hero of their party passed away. And she can't believe that a good chunk of his life she spent with him and still knows barely anything about him. And she'll never make that mistake again. After trying to make ends meet with the two other party members as they're growing old, she ends up taking on Fern, who is a little girl that is into magic, and she ends up taking with her on a journey. And along this journey, she meets new people that joins her party, and she laments on the past, remembers things, gets emotional, and realizes that all those moments that she spent was not for nothing. There's valuable things that take away from everything she's done in her life. Seeing how the world operates in Frieren, it really feels so alive. Every village she goes to, every town or capital is just bustling with people living and just doing things, and her just getting involved just in random stories or requests from people. And then on top of this, you have Studio Madhouse making one of the most visually impressive shows this season. This isn't a show that needed to have fight sequences that are on par with Jujutsu Kaisen, but it just does.
Kill yourself.
The fantasy setting, the background art, the character idle animations, and little idiosyncrasies of every person on screen. There's just so much thought and detail to make everything feel fully realized, as well as make things feel more grounded and rustic in this fantasy setting. Frieren is one of the most captivating protagonists of a series that I've seen in a long time. The way she interacts with all the other characters leads them to feel more interesting, as well as give them a reason to explain who they are as a person and create these unique relationships. A lot of people think Frieren is a sad series, but it's honestly not for me. It is the most heartwarming thing that you could witness. While there are some moments I'm tearing up, it's not like tears of sadness. Like, I am overjoyed. I'm just sitting here content and happy. It's so beautiful with not only its sights and landmarks, but with the character stories that just get involved. And I love how it also goes with kind of the beginning of Mushoku Tensei, where a huge chunk of time is just passing on through, but it never feels like you're being dragged away at bated breath without fully being able to wind down and understand what's going on. Things only start to slow down when Fern and Stark are added to the party, and you can fully enjoy the day-to-day of just your journey of trying to get to heaven. You have things of them hiding out for winter for months on end, celebrating birthdays. You have them just going around and doing random little quests in town for money to help them with their supplies on their journey. I love how all the moments of her past journey with her party to defeat the Demon Lord is sprinkled in throughout everything she experiences, as she recalls that a lot of things are very familiar feeling, or realizing that she really did know her party, and her saying that she didn't was just a bold-faced lie. It's only now that she's calling back to these memories and realizing that they all cared for her, and that time that she spent with them was some of the most precious moments of her life. It's one of the most peaceful soundtracks where it really encapsulates its fantasy world perfectly. It's got soft brass and wind instruments on top of just like melancholic strings that just help add to any of the dialogue. I find myself confused on how a 20-minute episode can just go by in an instant, as I'm just completely sucked into anything that happens in this show. I love long-running journeys as well as small episodic little stories, and it's completely combining both of these aspects. Anything that can make me emotional is just an automatic success. In a time where fantasy series are just being completely done right, with more on the way, I'm just excited that Frieren was able to be the standout of my year. And yeah, with that, Frieren Beyond Journey's End is my anime of 2023.
同じ道を選んだそれだけだったはずなのにいつも して思う伝え